Giving her all a second or another minute longer. I'm busy getting stronger. I get a little bit stronger. WGSN-DB Going Solo Network welcomes you to award-nominated relationship internet radio talk show, Going Solo with Cece. Host Cece Shatz is a speaker, author, blogger, and the leading transitional divorce and dating coach with My Friends Connect and Going Solo Next Step. Now, together, let's join Cece. Get along without you, baby. Better off without you, baby. How does it feel without me, baby? I'm getting stronger without you, baby.
Hello, this is Cece with Going Solo, and I have with me tonight Rosalind Sedacca. And Rosalind, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a divorce and parenting mentor, founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network for Parents, and author of How Do I Tell the Kids About the Divorce. I'm also the creator of several courses and programs on divorce and parenting, and especially on co-parenting during and after divorce, because it's very important for parents to understand that every decision they make affects the emotional and psychological well-being of their children long after the divorce. So I have a resource through my website, through my books and courses and programs, to help parents make sure they avoid the serious mistakes that can damage their children and do the things and access the resources that are going to help them successfully co-parent in the months and years and decades after that divorce.
It's such a difficult time for parents. You're in the midst of the actual divorce itself. It's very heart-wrenching, and you're trying to get together yourself emotionally and also, financially and all the other aspects that goes with dividing a family. But the kids, it's really a very, very difficult time for the children. And so with each and every step that we move through, the kids move through those too, don't they?
They certainly do. And they are, sometimes parents expect them to be little adults and to understand things and to just assume that they know what's going on to their parents. But we really have to put ourselves in our children's shoes and see the world through a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old and a 15-year-old. And it's different at every age and every stage. And this is long after divorce. So even if you had a divorce 5 years ago, your children are still needing co-parenting support from you. And the relationship you have with your former partner is really pivotal to how well adjusted your children will be and how difficult it is for them to just move ahead and go past the divorce. And we know that we can have better outcomes when parents learn better communication skills, when they learn co-parenting skills together, and when they understand what's going on with their children at the different ages and stages. And that's what the Child-Centered Divorce Network is all about.
Yeah, I think that's marvelous. I mean, I myself, I have a son that just turned 13. I can see a difference now, even though we've been divorced for about 8 years. At the beginning, we were very cautious. We were very caring, very concerned with the welfare of his transition. But it seems now that as we've been divorced for a while, we don't look at it quite so much. We're not as focused with making sure that his transition is going smoothly. And I've noticed for him lately and I think it's also going into, he's a teenager now, going into some of those things that he's experiencing. I've noticed a difference in his behavior, his actions, how he's adjusting. So I totally agree with you that I do think that as parents, we can't just always focus at the very beginning. It's a very long-term process that we have to do with our children.
Yes, because they react differently as they get older and see the world in a different way. They may change viewpoints. They may side with different parents at different ages. They may have different questions to ask. And you could tell by how well your children are doing overall, how well they're doing in school, how well they get along with other people, their sense of self-esteem, and all of those will indicate whether your children are processing the situation well. Or it's important to get help as early on as possible if there are signs that your children need extra support. Sometimes having an objective third party is really helpful to allow the kids to vent, to express what they're feeling, to share things that they just can't say to mom or dad because mom or dad may be pointing the finger at the other parent and not really listening to what the children are saying. So there's a multitude of things that happen. What we want to do is remind parents that you're not alone. Lots and lots of other people are going through it, and there is help, there are resources, and there's support for you. So don't just stuff your feelings or let your kids stuff their feelings. Let's get it out and look at the situation and make some healthy choices that'll really be of value not only to you but to your children long term.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because I've noticed, the communication at the very beginning of our relationship, it was strained, but we really focused very hard on when we were together with him regarding the visitation, that we were really tried to keep it very smooth, make the transition very smooth for him. Now I'm noticing that we are still having trouble in our communication, but over the years it's gotten a lot more difficult, and I've seen that reaction with my son for that. I really do, and with you, I want to stress so much that I think we have to, just like we do with our cars, we have to get our tires rotated and our oil changed. I think with our kids, we have to do the same thing with our communication with our exes. We have to really look at things, evaluate it.
A parenting tune-up, I call it.
Yeah. Oh, very good. Very good.
The parenting tune-up. Mm-hmm. And yes, it is helpful because if your child was in preschool or elementary school when the divorce happened and now they're in middle school or high school, they have a whole different take and they can get very angry or very frustrated with parents and not communicate and share with you what's going on with them. And if issues happen, then you're going to pay the price in difficulties later on. So it's good to nip things in the bud and talk about them with an expert before you go too far along. And I know one of the topics you wanted to discuss specifically tonight was coping with the holidays, divorced and had children, especially when that divorce is fairly fresh and it's only the first year or 2 or 3 after the divorce, because it's always most difficult to deal with times when the family has memories of being together and suddenly that's all changed.
Absolutely. That we're fastly approaching the holidays, and most certainly I do think that it's such a difficult time for everyone involved, but our kids, they're the little voice that we don't always hear. Are there steps that we can adjust a little bit better, help them to adjust?
There are definitely steps we can take. It's important to understand that our attitude influences how we handle every challenge, and we need to understand that change is natural in life, and accepting change is just good for our mental health, and we need to convey that to our children. The more stuck we are in things should be this way, or this is the way we've always done it, and now we're all disappointed because things are different, that's not a healthy state of mind for anyone. So it's good to remind children that life is full of changes. You've changed grades in school, you changed sports teams, you changed teachers, you changed hairstyles and clothing styles. Well, this is a change in your life. The divorce and the aftermath are changes, but it doesn't necessarily have to be bad changes. It's just different. And different is just one of the things that happens in life. So stop resisting the change and refusing to accept what is, because that's where we create pain in ourselves and for our children. The more we can let go of what was and embrace what is and what can be, then the better life feels and the more open we are to new and better experiences ahead. And that's a really good message to convey to your children. But more than lecturing about it, living it and expressing it and being it. So talking about anticipation of a great holiday season, looking for the good, finding good things for them to anticipate will really help you go through it. So some of the stages that we were talking about to help children cope with divorce, first of all, is showing compassion. You really need to allow yourself to hear what your kids are saying, even if you don't like to hear what it is. They may be venting and they may be cursing you out and very angry because because of the divorce or because mom or dad isn't with them right now, and other changes have happened. And the grandma on the other side is no longer actively part of their life. There's a lot of things. So you want to listen rather than lecture, and let them vent about their feelings and their regrets and their frustrations and their anger, and acknowledge that what they're expressing to you is okay. It's okay for them to feel, and that you understand it. What they're saying is very understandable. And it's important for you to reassure them that it's okay to talk about their sadness and their anger or their apprehension and their anxiety about what's ahead, and remind them that what they're feeling is natural and normal, that lots and lots of kids feel the exact same way when they're in their same situation. And be there with reassurance and hugs, and let them know that some things, some activities will still be part of their holiday celebrations in the same way, and others are going to be different and change. But that can be very new and exciting and something to look forward to. It doesn't have to be a sad thing that there's a difference.
Right, absolutely. That's the whole thing, is that you can take some things that are similar that you've done in the past, but then incorporate some new things. Like for instance, going out and looking for a Christmas tree ornament, or doing, hot cider or something like that. I mean, it can be a very simple thing, reading a special book at the holiday time. That is always helpful.
I love those suggestions. The idea is to create a fresh set of traditions that will give your children something to look forward to, and start giving them new memories to remember back. So you replace old memories with the new ones, and you make the holidays special again for them. And if they can do the same in their other parents' home, then they can enjoy the holiday even further on both sides. So kids look to us to determine how to take or accept situations. If we're excited about introducing new experiences, they will be too. If we're depressed and down and saying, gee, it's not like last year, well, then the kids are going to pick up on that. So we can continue some old traditions with the kids and to maintain connections with the past, and then other outlets for fun and excitement. You could talk to the kids about them and come up with the plans yourself. And I have some ideas of new ways that maybe you can incorporate into your new holiday tradition. So you could change where and how and when you get your Christmas tree. Buy it either earlier or later in the season. Trim it with a new theme that you've never used. Create a party with new friends or neighbors to trim it. Doing it with different people who are still important in your life can make it a fun new experience. Or you could try new recipes and new combinations of foods that you don't traditionally eat, or new side dishes or desserts. So it's something new to look forward to, or something new to get excited about. And there's all kinds of decorating changes you can make. You could, as you said, buy a new ornament that's representative of the new place that you've visited this year, or new activities or sports that the kids are involved in, and start celebrating with these new ornaments, and also changing the time frame for the activities and visits. Eat earlier or later. Open the gifts in a different way at a different time. Create a special time for phone calls to your children's other parents and grandparents, so they can incorporate that into the holiday, and invite new friends over during for Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, people who hadn't usually been there, but now they're part of your holiday. And you could also plan a trip for the holidays to spend with a friend who lives further away, or a relative, so you're not at home and not in the home with the old memories. Sometimes having an exciting winter getaway can be very good to spark spirits. Or adding new activities, such as sledding or ice skating for people who are living in the north, and visiting a zoo or a museum during holiday week, things that you haven't been used to doing. And also remember to bring children to participate in community events, toy drives, the soup kitchens, pet shelters, and other places where they get to understand the real spirit of the holiday and giving selflessly. And that can be a wonderful new tradition and a wonderful new memory for them.
Absolutely. I remember with my son, we would go and, during the Christmas time, there was a family or something you can adopt. And there was a thing in the mall where you pick off from the tree and you can buy present, and he always loved to do that, giving to others. It really, when you give to others and you're doing something for someone else, it really takes your focus off of yourself and what you're going through, and you put the focus on giving to somebody else and making them happy. And that seemed to really help my children, actually all my children throughout, whether I was married or not married. It always seemed to help them get through the holidays.
Yeah, and it gets us out of a pity party as well. It does wonderful. It gives everyone a perspective that life is so much bigger than whatever our particular drama is at the time. And there are people who are needing so much more than we do. And by giving and sharing and making life better for someone else, it lifts the spirits. And sometimes we make wonderful new friends through these situations. It opens doors to new beginnings. The whole idea is to start new traditions and new beginnings so that we look forward to and anticipate the holidays in a different way and not just feel sad and disappointed about not having the past.
Absolutely. And we're teaching our kids wholesome family values too, traditions that we put in place. It's teaching them to be wholesome, and I think it really goes down to the core of teaching our kids what is important in life. So it's a very good thing to do, is to really home in on the traditions and making them feel secure within the environment. And they will, in turn, then bring that forward. They have children of their own.
Exactly. And, we forget, and that's why I emphasize so many times that we as parents are role models for our children. Everything we say and do, and they learn from us. And so rather than lecturing, if we can live and do and show them as examples of how to overcome sadness and disappointment and how to reframe situations in life and how to look for the positive even when we have negative situations, then they're more likely to do that and adapt those skills into their own life. If we say to do that, but we're moping around and acting depressed and looking depressed, our kids are not going to be getting the message we want to convey to them, and instead they're going to be picking up on, poor mom, I need to take care of mom. And that leads to one of the most sad consequences of divorce is when your children end up trying to parent you, because you as a parent are so unable and so unstable at this time and so caught up in your own melodrama that your kids are there to say, hey, Ma, it's okay, I'll take care of you. When you do that to your children, they lose their childhood. Suddenly they are stepping into an adult role. They're parenting their mom or dad. They have lost their innocence. They have lost their childhood. So we never want to do that to them because it changes who they are, forces them to grow up too soon, and it isn't their place to be parenting you. We have to be the role models that they can look up to and learn from. Doesn't that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And these are things that when we're doing this, type of teaching our children, it can carry forward in our everyday life. So most certainly it's something, so it's not just the holidays.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what all of this is useful for anyone who's going through a transition after a time when we have to move on and get balanced again and boost our spirits again and move on in life, whatever the difficulty and challenges. These are skills that will be helpful, and our kids are watching us every step of the way.
Absolutely. Communication, I think, between the parties, between the parents, is really vital. But what happens if you don't have that?
Well, it's always more of a challenge, but don't ever give up. I always tell clients that no matter how badly you may start the divorce and the co-parenting process, especially if you had a tough divorce and we're in litigation and things were really ugly, there's always an opportunity for one or both of you to get more enlightened and realize for the good of the kids that enough is enough. And when one of you takes the high road and makes a decision that you're not going to spite the other one or hurt the other one or do something that's going to be malevolent in any way, you're much more likely to get a more peaceful and benign result with your other with the other parent, and that can start to leading to a healthier co-parenting situation or a more peaceful one, or at least learning that if I do a favor for you, then you're more likely to do a favor for me. And who's benefiting? It's all for the kids. You have to remind one another that you two wouldn't even be talking to each other if you didn't have children after a divorce. It's only because you both love these children that you're both in their lives and you want to do what's best for them. And having their parents not fighting and not in high conflict is one of the most important gifts you can give to children after a divorce. If you can learn ways of communicating more effectively, put yourself in your ex's place and see the world through their shoes and try to understand their worldview. Why are they so angry about this or that? Why are they so stubborn about this or that? Sometimes you may get a glimpse into what's bothering them, something you hadn't even thought about from years ago. Or it may be that you need to have a conversation and both of you lay things on the line and say, you know, these 3 things are driving me crazy about you, and let your partner say the 3 things that are driving them crazy, and then talk about how can we handle this? Is there a way we can compromise in some way? Can we agree to disagree and just not butt heads over this issue anymore? Do we need to get professional help for this situation? Can we write an agreement, a peace truce that says, stipulate certain things? I will never do this or say that. You will never do this or say that. Put it in writing and sign it and make it, it could be the beginning of a more peaceful or neutral situation between the two of you. Your children will thank you in the end. And when they grow up, they're going to look at you and hold you accountable for the way you handled that divorce. They're going to say to you either, thank you for doing a good job, or I hate you. I am so angry at you for what you put us through. And you don't want that. So this is the time today and tomorrow to make changes and shifts so that you can begin to have a healthier relationship with your kids and with your ex so that life can be more peaceful. The goal is for your kids to grow up well-adjusted and happy and not have the extra stress of your divorce on their shoulders. Let's face it, it's tough being a kid today. They have so much stress on them. There's so many issues to handle. Schools are crazy with the tests. Bullying situation can be really abusive. Social media puts so much pressure on kids to behave in certain ways, and they're walking on tippy toes, afraid that someone in their social circle is going to say something about them. They're under tremendous stress. The last thing they need is to be mediating between 2 conflicting parents. It's easy to see why kids will turn to drugs and aggressive behavior and drop out of school, do other things that are antisocial after they're so frustrated from parents who aren't getting along. If they don't have good role models at home, it's so easy to fall prey to groups and organizations that are going to tempt them with things that are not going to be in their well-being for the long term.
Right.
So that's why we highly recommend you get coaching, get mentoring, get therapy, whatever it is that you need to help bring the family back into a more cohesive unit before it's too late, before things get any worse along the lines.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, the thing is if you don't do that, we're not teaching our children how to cope with situations, and it's not just the holidays. It's
right.
A lot of things in life that they have to learn how to deal with. Just school stuff and teachers and girls and boys and all of that. So if we can't get it together over the holidays to help our kids to be able to get through and make that transition and enjoy at least a very wonderful time in their life, how is it going to be when they really need us through some of the difficult times? So, you know, we have to think about that. Yeah, most certainly. So this is a wealth of information, and I thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's just so much information that I think, the parents can take with them and, try to bring it forward and help their kids to be able to get through. So now tell us, what can we do if they're really having a difficult time? If your communication is really difficult, is there tips that you can give us to be able to help us through that?
Well, if your communication is difficult, there's wonderful online scheduling tools so that you don't have to talk to one another. And when you use them, there's one called Co-Parently, and if you Google it, you'll find co-parenting scheduling tools that let you put together everything about the divorce agenda regarding the children, who's home when, whose pickups, details about doctor's appointments and diet and clothing that they wear and sports schedules and everything else. And that eliminates having to talk, because if you can't talk on the phone or if you're sending each other ugly emails, these tools are the best resource to use, and that'll help eliminate problems. And go and spend some time with a professional, because there are skills that we can teach you on how to communicate with a difficult party, or how to eliminate the communication and keep your sanity, because some people get so depressed or so worked up over being with a very toxic ex that it's affecting your well-being and it's affecting future relationships for you. So you need to learn your own coping skills. And another thing is to ignore. If you know you have a difficult co-parent, then you need to teach your children to just ignore those comments when they put you down in front of the kids. And you yourself have to ignore it and remember that what they say about you has no reality to who and what you are. So the more you boost your own self-esteem, the less you're going to let that impact you, because some people are so toxic, there's nothing you can do about it. One of the greatest lessons we can learn in life is that the only person we can change in life is ourselves. We can't change our ex. That's very often a reason why we've got a divorce in the first place. But we don't want to be trying to change them or fix them after the divorce either. And we need our children to understand that sometimes there's nothing we can do about certain people in our lives, but we can not give them a lot of credibility, and we can avoid them as much as possible, or let what they say just go through us and not take it emotionally. And that's a way of guarding and protecting your heart and your emotions when you're in difficult situations.
Right.
But it's important to get the support of counseling on one level or another, or coaching, so that you have some tools that you can use and some resources that you can step back into. And you can use visualization skills. You can use ways of saying things that are going to be less assertive and less aggressive towards your ex. There's a lot of other ways that you can communicate so that they don't have the power over you. The goal is to never, ever give away your power to the other party, to stand strong. And that may take the help and support of having an outside professional work with you, but it's worth it, because once you learn those skills, they're there with you the rest of your life. You'll have them forevermore. And usually when one person changes or shifts, the other person changes and shifts as a result, even if they didn't know it or want it. So if you start behaving differently when your ex is aggressive or nasty or something, and you do something that's surprisingly new and different, they're very likely not going to know what to do about that, and their response will be different too. The worst thing you can do is the same old, the old pattern that you've been running, because you know the outcome. That's going to get you into the same place. We have to always make changes and shifts, and that's what healthy life skills are all about.
Absolutely. Well, I found myself going from being divorced thinking things would be a lot different. Well, they're really not any different as far as the communication. And so then I'm thinking, okay, well, this is great. I've gone through this divorce. And so I hear this a lot with individuals that are going through divorce. They think, okay, once I'm divorced, things will be all different. But it's not. And so you still, again, have to learn how to communicate. You have the haven of your own home to be able to go to and escape it a little bit. But See, when you have kids involved, you still have to face it, and you still have to communicate, and running away from the situation is only going to hurt your child. I've heard many times single dads say, well, I'm just going to leave them alone until they grow up, and then I'll come back in their lives. Please don't do that. That's just the most hurtful thing.
Children need both of their parents in their lives, and they want both of their parents in their lives, and they love both of their parents, no matter how bad we may think the other one is. They usually love both parents, and it's wonderful if you could find a way for both parents to be in their lives. It's not always possible, but whenever we can, we want them to have access to both parents. But they're very smart, and they pick up on who's real and who isn't, and who's manipulative, and who's frightening to them. And they understand on a deep level, even if they can't express it. And then when they grow up, they'll express it, but good.
Yeah.
So you want to be role modeling for them the very best you can. And the best help we could always get is help with our own self-esteem, because the more empowered we feel and the more confident we feel, the less we can get bullied and manipulated and coerced and shamed by our ex or anyone else in our lives. And that's how when your children see you behaving that way, shrugging it off and say, oh, that's Dad, that's Mom, and don't let it bother you. And then your kids are picking up on a life skill that's really valuable for them. So all this is possible. No one's saying it's easy, but we can learn these skills step by step, piece by piece. And that's why I do the work that I do, and so many others are involved in that. Can I share with your listeners about a free ebook that I have on my website?
Please do.
It's called Post-Divorce Parenting, Success Strategies for Getting It Right, and there's a lot of great insights and tools and resources there for you. And if you go to childcentereddivorce.com, you'll just enter your email address, and that book will be immediately sent to you, and it's filled with valuable information. So that's childcentereddivorce.com. And on the same website, I have lots of interviews and articles and blog posts and resources and an expert interview series and tons of information. And if you click the coaching button, I have one-on-one coaching by phone or Skype, as well as some wonderful coaching programs that you can get to either read or listen to, whatever style works best for you, about effective co-parenting skills. So you can master those skills, and it'll make a huge difference in your life. You will make a shift as a result of understanding how to use those resources, and your ex will have to shift as a result, because you're going to be different. And when we're different, everyone around us behaves differently towards us. And that's a real blessing.
Absolutely.
When your kids see that shift in you, they will be impressed, and they will pick up on that good energy.
Now, you have a newsletter that you send out, or some information.
That newsletter comes out when you sign up for the ebook. The newsletter comes out. You get it every week for as long as you like.
Yeah, I get that. I get that myself, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I read it every time I get it. Actually, I'll have to confess, I store them. I keep all of yours in a folder, and then I go back when I have something, happening in my own life. I'll go back, or if I have somebody that says something that they're going through, I'll go back and I'll read it. And it's just a wealth of information. And the thing is whatever we're going through now, we might read something and say, oh, well, I don't really need that, and I'm not really going through that. But you may go through it later on. This information that you have available is just wonderful. It's what the work you do is just beautiful. It's just wonderful that you do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's my passion. I didn't get a chance to talk about my own story, but I went through a divorce when my son was 11, and I was traumatized about breaking the news to him and about the effect it was going to have on him. And I spent weeks of sleepless nights trying to figure out the best way to break the news, and then how to co-parent effectively for him. And I created a unique new approach to talking to kids about divorce, which is in my book, How Do I Tell the Kids About the Divorce? And then I came up with effective strategies for co-parenting more successfully, so that both parents feel that they're part of the children's life and that they want to work together because they can see the difference when they do in the children. And so I created my audio coaching program and my Parenting Beyond Divorce co-parenting program. So there's lots of resources that I've worked on over the years. And I want everyone who's listening to have the same happy outcome that I had when my son was a grown young man in his early 20s. One day out of the blue, he said to me, "You know, Ma, you and Dad did such a good job with the divorce. I'm so happy and thankful because most of my friends whose parents divorced, they hate their parents. They're so angry about the things that happened to them. And I just love you both and thank you."
Aww.
And that was the greatest day of my life because I had such guilt up to that point, as most parents do. You just feel, oh my God, what did I do to my child? And that's when I gave myself permission to write my book and start the Child-Centered Divorce Network and become a divorce and parenting mentor and really spread the word about child-centered divorce and the options that are available to us when we have better information, better advice, and better insights into how people behave and how we can support our children during and long after the divorce.
You do great work, I tell you. It's helped me, myself, tremendously, and I know others that it most certainly has. And the other thing, too, I wanted to just touch base on is that adult children, too, are affected on, in the transition of divorce. And so your information that you have available on your website can also tap into some of those areas for us.
Definitely, yes, to help adult children of divorce heal and let go and release some of the pain and the anger and all the rest of it, and also, most importantly, not to carry that forth so that they're creating divorce in their own relationships, and that they're not afraid to get married and have relationships. A lot of children of divorce have vowed, I'll never get married, because their experience was so bitter, and we don't want to leave that legacy for our children.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
I also wanted to invite everyone I have a video show, divorceview.com. If you go there, we have archives of weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of video interviews with divorce experts from all over the country, and there's excellent material there. We're always bringing in people who understand the dynamics of what makes a successful divorce versus what creates a catastrophe, and they're wonderful experts, and we record it on Google Hangouts, and you can see it on YouTube. But if you go to divorceview.com, you'll get the links, and then you can take advantage of listening and watching all of those videos. And we have a podcast that you can subscribe to, so every week you'll get all of those interviews right on the podcast, and you can listen to at your own convenience.
Oh, wonderful. That's great news. Yeah, that's wonderful. So the audience definitely should be able to tune in to everything and get all that information. Yeah, you do just a wealth of, and I know we talked about the holiday, but it's so much with regards to kids that we experience, and it can go from the smallest little situation, and it can escalate into something huge as we're moving through our parenting. And so what you have on your site, what is available for us to be able to reference, is tremendous. So I do hope that the audience will go. Again, will you share with us your site information?
Yes. It's childcentereddivorce.com. That's centered with an ED at the end. childcentereddivorce.com. And then I have another website, because when you're dating after divorce, you have a whole new world of things to think about, and you want to make sure you're protecting your children. So I have a website, womendatingafter40.com, Women Dating After 40, that provides lots of information on dating after divorce and on finding and attracting a healthy new relationship for anyone, divorced or not. The things to avoid, better communication skills, what to really look for in a healthy relationship, how to attract them, where to go and find people who are more likely to be a good relationship partner for you, mistakes that we see too often that people repeat again and again, and a lot of other crucial issues. And I have several programs and courses on dating and relationships that you can access at womendatingafter40.com and womendatingrescue.com. womendatingrescue.com. So if you're ready to move on, and especially if you have children, you want to be particularly careful about how you date, who you date, and the message you're sending to your children about dating and relationships.
Right. That's a whole nother show. We have to get you to come back and talk to us on that, because that is a wealth of information, and I would love to have you come back. So most certainly we'll do that. But there is so much when it comes to our kids. We love them and we want to protect them, and we have children because we want to do the best parenting job we can. And so going through divorce was not in the picture, I think, when a lot of us were, going to have a kid. We thought about, we want a family, and that's what we were really thinking about, and we just didn't think we were going to have a division of our family. And so it's real, and we've got to learn how to live with it, and we've got to do the best job we can. So
absolutely.
Yeah, and I love.
Fortunately, there's so many resources available today to help people through every stage of every challenge. You're not alone, and there's help that's available. There's so much online that you can do there, and there's programs you can take or get individual personal coaching, because that makes all the difference. Sometimes just a session or two with a coach or a counselor can give you a whole new take or a new insight about the situation, and suddenly you're seeing it differently and making different decisions and behaving differently. And when, like I said earlier, when we do something different, we get a different outcome. The worst thing you could do is be stagnant, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. It doesn't happen. So we have to make internal shifts, internal changes, and when we do that, that's the only opportunity for something to change. And we have to be open to initiating those changes so that the people around us will experience the changes differently, and they'll be different to us, because we can't focus on changing other people. It's impossible.
Well, like you said, at your very first onset, you said it's our attitude. And so sometimes we do have to have a reality check. We have to have an attitude check. As we're moving through to the holidays, it's going to be a very sad time for a lot of people, including ourselves. And it's going to be sad for the kids and the friends, the family, ourselves individually. But it's about our attitude, what we want to achieve and what we want to accomplish. And so if we want to have a good holiday, doggone it, we're going to do it. It's our attitude that makes a difference. So,
Cece, I always say, look for the lesson or the gift in any challenging life experience. If you could look at it and reframe it as a lesson or a gift rather than, oh, this is such a disastrous situation I'm in, then you at least feel there was some value. I went through hurt, I went through pain, I went through disappointment. I would never choose this, but it happened. But if you could look and say, but I got these nuggets, I'm different, I'm changed now, and I'll never do that again, then there's value in having gone through the experience. And that's really important so we can change our attitudes and change our lives as a result of that.
Absolutely. The thing is we can embrace our lives when we realize that the lesson that was there, the knowledge that we've been able to achieve from that. And so we can embrace our lives versus trying to think our life is terrible. And I'll just share with you just real quickly. On my very first Thanksgiving, I was by myself. A friend came over, and a gentleman that I was dating, he came over and tried to be with me. And I was just having a pity party. My life had changed. I wasn't with my family where I thought I was going to be, blah, blah, blah. So all of that. And I was just absolutely miserable that Thanksgiving. I had too much to drink. I ended up sleeping through most of it. It was just the most horrible Thanksgiving. But then after that, I realized, you know what? I cannot have the rest of my life, every Thanksgiving, being terrible. So I have to change. I have to change within, and I have to do something different about it. So I started a tradition myself, and I open my home up to people that I know that are lonely and they don't have anyone. And so and my kids now, they get involved with it too. They seem to enjoy it. And now I have about 40, 50 people coming for Thanksgiving. So
that's wonderful.
That's a great
story.
Yeah, so it's really how you want to look at life. I thought my life was horrible, when I was first going through my divorce. Now I realize, my gosh, I have more family than I know what to do with. So, but it's a blessing. It's absolutely a blessing. So
it's a do-it-yourself job. No one did it for you. You had to do that, and you had to go off and say, what can I do different and how can I do it? And you did, and then you got the reward.
Absolutely. So I look forward to it every year. I have a great time. I'm getting people that come again and again. We're like family now. So we've started our own tradition. They were alone, I was alone.
That's right.
Yeah. And
you've blessed so many other lives who would have been alone themselves.
Right. So go figure. When I thought that I was doomed for that Thanksgiving, who would have realized the lesson that I learned there was that you can connect with others even though they're not your family and feel just as good about it.
There's always a gift in thinking beyond yourself. When we look beyond ourselves, there's always a brighter horizon because there are other people who need us, and there's great joy and love and peace that comes from doing and giving to other people. So that was a fabulous example of that and a great story, and it's a real one. So thanks for sharing that.
Well, sure. You get back 100-fold, I think, when you reach out and try to touch someone else's life. So, and you do it every day. And so I thank you so much for all that you do. And again, everyone, please go to your site. Share it one more time with us.
Yes, childcentereddivorce.com. And if you click on all the buttons there, you'll find all the information, the resources, the programs, books and courses and everything else. And whatever you need to help you. And there's a free ebook right on the homepage that you can send for post-divorce parenting. So there's a lot of support for you there.
Well, this is Rosalind Sedacca, and this is Cece with Going Solo. You're listening to WGSN-DB, and I thank you so much for being on radio with us today.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Well, it was wonderful having you. So we will sign off now, and I will be reading everything you send me, and I love it. Thank you so much. And the audience, please go to childcentereddivorce.com, womendatingafter40.com, and womendatingrescue.com with Rosalind Sedacca. Get all the information. It's there for you. Even if you think you don't need it now, just keep checking back because there'll be something there that will catch you. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Rosalind Sedacca for being on Going Solo with Cece today. And I look forward to having you back with us and sharing some of this great information to help children and families through divorce. Thank you for listening to Going Solo with Cece. I hope you'll join me again right here each and every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. Get along without you, baby. Better off without you, baby. How does it feel without me, baby? I'm getting stronger without you, baby.